Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Agent Psycho. It's been a very long time since I've last done a kind of like a longer sit-down commentary. If you guys have been around my channel for a little bit, you guys will know that, sometimes occasionally I like to post, 20, 30, maybe even 40-minute commentary videos talking about whatever random topic issue that's on my mind, whatever like that. So, since it's been a long time, I figured, may as well do a couple, and while I have the time here on a Saturday afternoon, and yeah, let's get started. So, today, I just kind of want to talk about this whole issue about how people feel better than each other. It can take form in a lot of ways. People can feel better than other people in terms of racism or sexism or things that would typically connotate segregation of some kind. I'm sure you guys know. Hopefully, you guys know what I'm talking about. The whole feeling of, oh, I'm better than you because either you're a different skin color or you're a different gender or anything like that. That kind of promotes segregation or something like that. And clearly, that's not good because obviously equality is the kind of thing that everyone should strive for. And whatever society that kind of promotes segregation or doesn't tolerate equality, kind of a shitbag society, in my opinion, of course. Okay, maybe some of you guys out there are genuinely racist and genuinely, segregationalist, whatever, if that's even a word, in whatever term. It doesn't have to be racism, but yeah. It's probably not the best way to go. And the example, obviously, because I always have some sort of anecdote or example that I use to, give context to whatever topic that I talk about. I think a month ago, yes, I remember this clearly. The day before I was scheduled to come down to college, because if you guys don't know, I live in Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles for like the majority of my life now, ever since I moved here from Korea when I was 2 years old. And when I need to go to college after every winter vacation or summer vacation, whatever, I need to drive back up there for like an 8-hour drive, up and down or whatever. So, day before or night before I'm scheduled, I have to drive up with my parents up to my college for this year anyway. For this semester, I'm talking with friends over Skype. I have a Skype group, and it's just full of people who just like to watch anime. I was invited there by a good friend of mine. His name is Shadowlands. You guys may have heard of him. You guys might even be subbed to his channel. But yeah, he's a good guy. But yeah, I think he or one of his admins actually on TS actually invited me to that group about earlier this year, and I just hung around it, and we've had some very interesting conversations. But in any case, this particular conversation, I was talking with this other dude named Bowser. We'll just call him Bowser, just for the sake of giving someone a name here. And the conversation kind of started kind of weird. Basically, it started when I don't remember if it was Bowser himself or someone else in the Skype group, but someone posted a link to a YouTube video, basically depicting like how should I say this? It depicts a very anime, a huge anime fan in the bad sense. If you guys have ever heard of the term weeaboo, Weeaboo, I hope I've spelled that right, because I hardly ever use the term. I just use otaku, and that's about it. But yeah, if you guys don't know what that term means or what it is, it's basically a derogatory term for an anime fan or someone who's really into Japanese culture. You probably know a couple yourself, but if you just think of the stereotypical kind of otaku or weeaboo, then that's basically what the video was showing. And I think Bowser was basically complaining about how well, I shouldn't say complaining, because he claimed he wasn't complaining, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But he was talking about how he was just really annoyed by how the guy in the video, or it could have been the girl, I couldn't even fucking tell. But anyways, the guy in the video was pronouncing Japanese terms wrong. So I was like, well, if you're gonna be mad about that, then just don't watch the video, dude. Because in my opinion, if you're gonna get angry because of a very irrelevant or trivial issue like that, I consider that trivial or irrelevant. Because if someone mispronounces a word or mispronounces like certain strings of words because they're not a native in that particular language, to me it's like whatever, dude. Americans mispronounce foreign names all the time. give an American guy a list of Japanese words to say, or even a Japanese guy a list of English words to say, and they're not gonna pronounce it the way that we're used to hearing it. There's things called accents. American accent, Japanese accent, whatever accent. So really, you can't. To me, in my opinion, in my mind, it was like, well, you can't really. How do you judge someone off of that? Even if they're intentionally doing it so that they make themselves out to be the stereotypical weeaboo or otaku, you know that. So why bother wasting your time getting angry about it? So that was my whole thing, or that was my whole argument. And soon my conversation with this guy named Bowser devolved into this whole thing about. I don't know. Our conversation just went all over the place. I think it was a month ago by now, so I don't really know I don't remember exactly how it went. But we were talking about. Eventually, we got to the point where we were talking about. I think Bowser mentioned like how he got into a fight with or he didn't get into a fight, but instead 3 guys from his high school, I think, picked on him, or his college, I don't know which one it was, but 3 guys picked on him while he was in school. He didn't fight back, and now those 3 guys are in jail, and he's happy. He's completely happy with that because he's got a good life. He's already got a job. He's 16 and he's already in college. And I was like, well, wait, hold on a second. I asked him, so you think you're better than those guys? Because it really sounded like it. In our little Skype chat, the way he worded his words, redundancy, really kind of implied that he felt like he was a genuinely better person than them. So I was like, wait, hold on, back up a second here. What makes you think that? Like, first of all, I wanted to confirm. Do you feel better than these guys? And he said yes. I'm pretty sure. Either that or he implied that, yeah, he feels like he's a genuinely better person. So I was like, what makes you feel like you're a better person than them? Is it because you did something wrong, or are you priding your, or not not he did something wrong, but because they did something wrong and he didn't, or is it because you feel like a better person for not fighting back, like Gandhi style, no resist, or no violence at all, despite what happens to you? Like, do you honestly think that you're that much of a better person? And eventually, our conversation, I don't know how it even got to that point either, but eventually it progressed even further to the point where I think Bowser mentioned that his growing up, his life wasn't exactly that great, and I was like, well, I guess it sucks for you because I'm one of those guys who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I never had to get into any fights in elementary school, middle school, high school, whatever, and that is true. I've had the fortunate experience of going through all my life without virtually ever getting into a fight. I never had a reason to fight anybody. I never had, no one ever came to me and picked on me or fought me or bullied me or whatever. So admittedly, I do consider myself, one of the 1% lucky guys who never really had to, have a shitty childhood, if you want to think of it that way. Of course, my childhood was kind of bad in other respects, but at the very least I didn't have to deal with bullies or worry about having to get beat up at school or whatever. And all of a sudden Bowser was like, "Huh, really? You're one of those guys?" So I was like, "Yeah, I'm one of those guys." So he's like, "Don't even talk to me." Like, he starts saying, "Oh, don't even talk to me. You don't have a right to talk to me." Like, how if you say you're one of those guys who's never had to fight at all, like during your school or when you were younger, then you have no right to talk to me. Like he was all like, "Shut the fuck up. Don't even be in here. Like, screw you." I was like, "Whoa, now. Whoa, just because I have never gotten into a fight doesn't mean you can fucking grow your e-penis and say I have no right to speak to you." Because really, that's not really, how does that make sense? The reason why it makes sense to him is because, obviously he's in a position where, of course, he's got more experience in getting into shitty situations, obviously. But the thing is that you shouldn't base yourself, the quality of your own person, off your own experiences. It gives you, how should I say this? It gives strength to your words. Sure, if you're talking about, talking about things that relate to your life and things like that, then obviously your experiences give backup, or they back up your words, if you know what I mean. But while they do back up your words, you shouldn't feel that your words or your experiences entitle you to some sort of God-given right. You know, I can say what I want. You can say what I want too. But when it comes to the situation that me and this kid Bowser was in, we're kind of involved in. I don't want to say we were arguing with each other, but you could say that we were. I don't know. Personally speaking, I don't want to tell. If I were him, I don't want to be that guy who says, "Don't. You have no right to speak on this topic because you've never had an experience like that." While he does have a point, he shouldn't go far insofar as to go ahead and say you have no right to talk to me. Of course, you have a right. I have a right to comment on anything I fucking want, whether or not I'm involved in it. I can give my opinion, But what's more important is that Bowser was thinking that he was a legitimately better person than I was because of what he's experienced and what I haven't experienced. Now, at first, maybe you guys have been in similar situations. Obviously, when someone comes in and comments on something that they personally haven't experienced, but you have, then obviously it can kind of grind your gears a little bit, understandably. I knew what I was getting myself into, and I knew exactly why he was getting mad at me. But the reason why I was trying to grind his gears a little bit was because I wanted to show him that, look, dude, you're not supposed to feel better than someone else just because, oh, you've done this, you've done that, done this, what's that phrase? Been here, done that, I think the phrase goes. You shouldn't feel better than someone else, just because of what you've done in your life. To me, you guys may disagree with me on this, but to me that's just as arbitrary as a feeling as racism or sexism or any other kind of ism that exists out there that makes you feel like a better person than someone else. Racism is a mentality that makes people feel that they're better than others just because of skin color. That's pretty fucking random from a scientific standpoint. The fuck? That makes no sense. Biologically speaking, humans are all basically the same. The only real difference is the fact that, or one of the conspicuous differences between human beings is the fact that, sometimes some people's skin color might be whiter or darker than others. That's basically it. Racism or a black guy being better than a white guy or vice versa, which is typically, what's been going on. But, a white guy being better than a black guy or vice versa, it shouldn't make sense. And to me, it applies also to, people who feel like they had more experience in life or something like that. If someone doesn't make any sense in what they're talking about, then I guess, you can kind of ridicule them or just shun them as oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, clearly, if you have a very good reason and proof to show that someone does not know what the fuck they're talking about, then I guess that's one of the few exceptions to this, in that you can just go ahead and ignore them and not really take them seriously. But, if someone has a valid opinion, whether or not they've gone through, whatever experience that's being discussed, if they have a valid opinion, then you can't just go up to them and say, "Oh, you haven't gone to a fight before. You have no right to talk to me." You can't say that. Really, you can't. And incidentally enough, Bowser got so pissed off with me that he actually left the Skype group right after, which I find actually kind of hilarious. But after he left, some guys in our Skype group saw our little conversation, or our argument, if you want to call it that, and asked like what was going on. So they read through it and they kind of got the gist of what we were talking about. And I told them, after Bowser left, that is, I told them, I was about to tell Bowser that, even though I haven't gotten to a fight, I did tell a story about back when I was in 10th grade, I think it was, maybe summer going into 10th grade, maybe into 11th grade. I think it was the summer before my sophomore year in high school, where I may have told this story before, but just in case I didn't, I will tell it again. back then, summer going to sophomore in high school, me and a couple of other friends who didn't go to the same high school, but we knew each other because our families kind of knew each other, and we kind of went a long way back. But we flew down to Guatemala. Back then, the Pacaya volcano just erupted, so there were basically in the rural areas, or in some rural areas, there was like a lot of volcanic ash, and they needed people to come down and help out the survivors. There wasn't really like a huge casualty rate, but for the most part, there wasn't like widespread destruction. But it was really inconvenient for the rural people to have to clear all the sand by themselves, like all the volcanic dust and ash and shit like that. So we came down there as part of a volunteer relief program to go out there and help them. So while we were there for 6 days, 5 nights, or 7 days, 5 nights, something like that. It was around a week. But while we were there, one night I decided to walk out because we're staying in Guatemala City, and one night we go out. I decided to go out to a grocery store or a nearby convenience store to buy some snacks. And Guatemala City, you have to realize, even though it is technically by I guess today's standards a modern society, there's still a lot of sections of the city that are very, very ghetto-ish and run down. And I had to pass by one of those such districts. It was pretty small. It wasn't like you had to like always worry about someone trying to jump you or in the middle of the street or something like that. But it was still kind of shady, and it was just one of those places of town. And I had to walk past it. Going past it the first time, going to the store, no big deal. Coming back from it though, there's this one alleyway that I passed by as I was walking back home, and I hear, but before I cross it, I hear these guys fighting, and as I kind of peek the corner, it's not really two guys fighting, but it's just one guy just beating up another dude, and clearly it seemed like he was yelling something in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, and I only know like a few words or something like that, so I don't really know what they were talking about, but I could kind of get the feeling that one guy was getting robbed. So that being said, I was like, what should I do? Should I just kind of walk away and mind my own business, kind of just leave that dude behind? Because it didn't seem like the guy could really fight back or anything. He was just like the scrawny dude, kind of like me, where he didn't really seem like he had much of a chance of putting up a fight. Whereas this other dude, he wasn't like buff or anything, but he looks stronger, and even though they were relatively the same height, he looked stronger than the other dude. Bigger, buffer, whatever. Even though he wasn't that buff. So I was like, okay, so what should I do? Should I just kind of walk away, or try to help, or what's going on? Like, what should I do? And then I look at the ground of like just the entrance to the alleyway, just on the street, on the sidewalk, and I see a gun. It's a Glock 17 to be precise. And before then, I had taken shooting lessons through 4-H. If you guys don't know what 4-H is, just Google it. It's like a kids or young adult kind of activity organization. You guys can figure out more if you guys really want. But through that kind of organization, in my region, there was or my division of 4-H, we had an old guy who was incidentally, I think, the president of our 4-H club, and he personally was teaching the shooting course, or the firearms training course. So for about 2 or 3 years, every Sunday or every month or something like that, we'd go down to the shooting range in Torrance, and we'd fire a couple bullets, take a few hours, shoot a couple targets. I even got a silver medal in the shooting contest, but that aside. So I knew the basics of firearm handling. And Glock, they taught us how to reload pistols too. They didn't give us any Glocks or anything, but they did give us like a couple 22 pistols to train around with. So I knew the basics of handling a pistol. So the guy doesn't notice me, but mind you, he doesn't notice me at all. He doesn't know I'm here. He's just too preoccupied with just beating the shit out of this dude. So I pick up the gun, and I was like, wait, why is there a gun here? If this is the dude who's beating the other dude, why isn't he using it? So I look at the gun, and I notice the gun's jammed. And that's really rare for a Glock to jam like that. I guess the dude got lucky, I don't know. So the gun's jammed, and as soon as I look at it, it hasn't been cleaned in a very long time. And that might be why, but it's still really rare for a Glock to get jammed like that, just saying. But, I unjam it, pull the slide back, pull out the jammed bullet, and slide back in, and it's ready to fire again. and you know, the Glock, mind you, doesn't have a safety. The Glock 17 doesn't have safety. It's just double action. So what it basically means is you have to pull the trigger all the way in order to fire a bullet, instead of relying on a safety mechanism to keep it, keep the gun on safety. So, with this in mind, the Glock's loaded, mind you. I go into the alley. I'm just like, I just yell at him, "Yo, dude, back off!" And obviously they don't really understand much English, but the guy who's beating the other guy up, hears me, turns to me, he tries rushing at me, but, I pull the trigger once, fire a bullet at his feet, he stops, he realizes that he's made a mistake that by leaving his gun back there. He knows I'm smart enough to use the gun, and I tell him, I just point behind him, with a gun in my hand, just like, no, just back away, go away, get away from here. And he gets the message and he just runs off. He just runs away. And the guy who he was beating up was like, he was just, I guess he was thanking me in Spanish. I don't know what he was saying, but I was also telling him to try to go home. He's like, just go home. And I think he got the message too, and he just left too. So I was like, well, I guess better get out of here as soon as, myself, just, before I get into more trouble. So I just leave the Glock there. I think I pull out the magazine before I leave and just toss the Glock aside. Put the magazine in one place and the Glock in another, so that someone who finds the gun doesn't use it for anything else bad. And I get away, and nothing really happens out of it. The reason why I think I got away with, pulling the trigger once, was because it was kind of like an isolated part of town. No one really went there. And I only went down there because it was kind of a shortcut towards the grocery store or the convenience store I went to. So yeah, I got away with that. But telling that kind of story, it wasn't like a fight like you would think of in middle school, high school, like kids beating each other up. But it was kind of a standoff. Someone could have died. I could have killed that dude. For what he was doing, trying to rob that dude, or whatever he was trying to do. He might not have been robbing him. Maybe he just had a vendetta against that dude and wanted to kill him. I don't know. But with an experience like that, I guess Bowser will never know that I've also been in some pretty bad situations. It might not have been like me getting beat the shit up, but still it was a pretty tense situation, and things could have gone pretty bad really fast. So that being said, even though I said that, I wasn't like, yo, dude, Bowser, shut the fuck up. I've been in a gunfight, so fuck you. You haven't been in a gunfight. Have you had a gun and pointing at someone, tell them to back the fuck off? No. So shut the fuck up. You have no right to talk to me. I didn't say that. I didn't say any bullshit like that. Even if I were to say that, if someone else came along and said, "Oh, you want to talk shit, dude? I was in a fucking gunfight," I'd be like, "Oh shit," But that must have been hard on you. I can't imagine being in a gunfight, like a full-on gunfight. The situation I was in, all I was doing was pointing a gun at someone and telling them to back the fuck off. And luckily for me, they did. So things went pretty right for me anyway. But even still, I wasn't all like, "Oh, yo, dude, you haven't pointed a gun at someone. You haven't had the choice. You haven't had the decision to choose between helping someone or shooting someone, or rather, helping someone or leaving them alone to potentially die." You haven't had to make those kinds of choices in such high octane situations. I didn't say anything like that. Because why? Because I know that even if my own experiences were to warrant me to some sort of entitlement, I shouldn't say things like that, because everyone has their own experiences. Everyone lives their lives differently. Everyone has different opinions, different experiences. Because of that, you cannot really say that you're better than this person because of your experiences. Just because, I haven't experienced the same thing as you have specifically, doesn't mean you can just tell someone to just fuck off, and just piece the fuck out just because, someone else doesn't fully understand what you've been through and been through what you've been through, if you can follow me. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to mention. That's my commentary for today. But yeah, guys, any kind, if anything, if you can take away anything from this kind of commentary, remember that any kind of thing or sentiment and mentality or sentiment or anything like that, any feeling you might have that might make you feel better, like legitimately on a higher pedestal than someone else, it doesn't have to be racism. It doesn't have to be sexism. It just can be any feeling that makes you feel like a better person overall in general than the guy next to you. You know, that's not a good way to, you know, think or live your life. You know, even if you know, it's someone who's a really shitty person, you know, a murderer, a mass murderer, a rapist, someone who's just who just has a lot of screws loose. Even then, you shouldn't really feel better than that guy, because even though their sins or what they do wrong, you know, might be a lot more pronounced than what what you do wrong, it doesn't matter. We all, in the end, we all kind of make the same mistakes. We all make mistakes in general, like just flat out. We all make mistakes. We're all bad people in a sense. Or at least I think. I feel like it. You know, I kind of have a bad trust. I don't have a lot of trust in humanity. You know, I've mentioned this time and time again. I don't trust humanity very much. And you know, because of that, I kind of have the feeling, I kind of have the mentality where everyone's kind of a shithead, no matter how nice they are, and because of that, kind of comes full circle. You can't really judge people just by their experience. You can't judge people at all. Like, fuck, don't judge people. It's one of the worst mistakes that people seem to make all the damn time. It's just judging people about what they've done, who they are, what their preferences are. You know, stop fucking judging people. Accept people for who they are, and don't feel better or don't feel like you're entitled to an opinion or a right to something just because, you know, of your experiences, of your skin color, or your, you know, gender or anything. Just don't. It's really scumbaggy. And if you have a right to think, if you think that you have a right to think a certain way and think that other people don't have a right to, you know, say something, then you don't deserve to have that right. In fact, you don't even deserve to have any fucking rights at all if you're going to judge people like that. That's just like that. That's just kind of how I go. You know, that's how I roll. And people like that really kind of piss me off. Now, I'm not saying Bowser in particular really pissed me off. I know he would. I know, dude, he's 16. And even though I don't want to give the excuse of he's just a kid, I kind of do. Because he's just a kid. When you're 16, you're a teenager. You got a lot of emotions going through. You're going through fucking puberty. You're gonna get angry real pretty fucking easily. You know, I'm actually 20 now. God, I still think I'm 19. I'm 20 now. I'm basically more or less a young adult, or not even young. I am an adult. Fuck. At 18, you become an adult by American standards, or in the eyes of the American government. So, you know, I should act like one. So I don't really get angry too often. You know, if I get angry, it's because it's either I get angry at myself, at me doing stupid things on my own, or just things that randomly happen throughout my life that it's just kind of like, wow, that's just kind of bullshit. Or just at video games because I like raging at video games. But don't do things like that. You know, I do get angry at things like that, you know, people who think that they're better than other people. I mean, hell, I have that same fault too. You know, some of you guys might think I'm super hella arrogant, even though, you know, I'm trying not to feel that way, and I'm trying very much not to act that way anymore, even though I kind of do at certain points in my life. But I mean, hell, everyone's got something to work on. Bowser's got something to work on. I've got something to work on. But the point is that you shouldn't feel better than someone else at all. There should not be one moment in your life where you can sit down you can be in the same room as someone else and say, because of this, I'm better than that guy. Because you're not. You're all fucking human beings. You're all either going to go to heaven or go to fucking hell. That's just my opinion. Even though I'm a Christian, where, you know, Christians are going to go to heaven, pagans are going to go to hell, I have my own personal experience. I have my own opinions when it comes to things like, you know, moral issues such as that. And, you know, to me, in my eyes, all humans are basically the same. You know, everyone's either angelic or everyone's just a piece of shit. And it also goes for me as well. And if you don't agree with it, then I guess that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I have my reasons to believe that everyone is equal, either for the better or for the worse. And just because you think otherwise doesn't really mean that you should. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Again, like I said, this was going to be a longer commentary at 30 minutes long. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.